Yeah, I think it's really beautiful that a lot of the stigma is being removed around mental health issues. I think even just, you know, 10, 20 years ago, probably it's like people were more in this mindset of, oh, just smile and say everything's
Yeah.
fine and I'm fine, everybody's good.
Thank you so much. Well, so first off, Destiny, where were you born and raised?
So I'm actually from Malibu, California.
Oh,
That's
really?
why,
Originally?
yeah, so that's why I go by Destiny Malibu. It's a tribute to my hometown. And anytime I go to another city or another state, I just like, feel like I want to bring the beach with me.
That's
So
awesome. Wow. So born and raised in Malibu. That's exciting. What was that like?
it was really cool. I went to Malibu High School and I went to school with like Gigi Hadid and Francesca Leo that does Frankie's bikinis. So I got to be around some really, amazing, hardworking people. So that was really, really cool and inspirational for me growing up.
Yeah, definitely. And you come from a musical household from what I was reading, correct?
I do, yeah. So my mom was actually a successful Latin artist. She was in a girl group called Pares Unones, and then it was Rio Lento. And they, toured. Their managers brought Menudo to the US. So they got to perform with a lot of really big artists, Latin artists. And so I was very blessed to have, my mom in my life who taught me everything I know, really, how to write a song, stage performance, all of that stuff. So that's been very cool.
Yeah. Wow. So do you remember going to the studio or anything like that as a young kid? Like, or
Oh
like being
yeah.
on tour or seeing your mom perform?
Yeah, I mean, my earliest memories were definitely like I was in the studio since I was a little baby, like watching my mom record and stuff. So the first
Wow.
the first time that I actually like got on a mic and recorded something was when I was 5. And so I like had these big headphones on and I just fell in love with the studio like immediately, basically, and just watching my mom and it's a very positive memory for me.
Wow. So 5 years old, you had the headphones on, you're recording.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What do you remember? Do you have the recording of that? And also what would you
I do
sing?
actually. So that song in particular was actually for a 9/11 tribute song. So I was a little baby and I actually said the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the song. So
Wow.
it was a hard time in the world and it was really cool. My mom wrote a song to bring people hope and I got to do the Pledge of Allegiance and sing on the choruses and stuff. So it was really cool. So I still have that recording.
Yeah, wow, I bet. That's cool. That's so crazy. And it's for such a like impactful thing. I mean, for such a positive song as well to be a part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. And like seeing your mom perform, would you, when she toured and everything, were you able to go or were you at home? Like, I mean, I would imagine it'd be hard to bring a baby on a tour
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah, she did do performances, but for the most part at that time in my life, she was kind of stepping more into family life. And so she wasn't on the road as much and she got to spend a lot of time with us. So mostly though, a lot of studio memories.
Yeah. Wow. So like, were you involved? I mean, to be on a song and singing at 5, you must have been your mom must have noticed that you had a good voice even, before that. Was that something that she was like, "Wow, oh, awesome, my daughter can sing as well?"
It was really cool because so when I was 5, obviously, I was able to carry a tune and I love music, but I'm still 5. So it's
Right, of
only
course.
but when I was actually 9, which is still pretty young, but when I was 9, I actually wrote my first song and I have a recording of
Wow.
that too. And it's called A Million Kisses. And that song is really, really special to me because it's the first song I ever wrote. And it was actually the first song that I performed at a talent show at Malibu Middle School.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I was actually new at that school at that time when I was in 8th grade. And I was homeschooled for a little bit before that. And
Mhm.
I entered the talent show in the middle school and I got a standing ovation with that song. And that meant so much to me because growing up, it's incredible to hear positive feedback from your family, but then also from like your community for them to like believe in you that much. That still means the world to me. It's one of my
Oh
favorite.
yeah. I mean, to get a validation for not only a song you wrote, but you're performing it in front of all your peers.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that
And I
was
bet there's
very
a lot
special.
of I mean, at Malibu Middle School, I'm sure there was quite a few producer musician kids there maybe that you have to go
Definitely.
up in front of. So it's not like you're going
Definitely.
up in front of no one that understands the industry at any, capacity.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when I was a senior, I actually was voted most musical, which is a huge honor because
Yeah.
that school is filled, with so much talent. And I was just so like humbled and like I was like, me? I was like, you guys are so sweet. So yeah, it was a really good experience. And just to know that I have that support from my community is just really special.
For sure. So when you wrote that song at 9, A Million Kisses, was
Mhm.
that something that you had an idea? I mean, that's a long time to think back, but
Yeah.
did your mom go, "Oh wow, you're writing a song," and she can kind of you said earlier she's kind of helped you with your songwriting as well.
Yeah, so pretty much all of my original songs I have written by myself, but there are a few songs that my mom has some credits on that we got to collaborate with together, which is super cool. And then I have one song out that I worked with two other writers, but for the most part, I do enjoy, uh, locking myself in my room and just like putting my headphones on and writing. That's like a very uh, beautiful experience for me to just like release emotions and get things out. It's like journaling, but through song.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, but also having someone that's in the industry and
Yes.
successful, I can't speak right now. Having them as kind of a sounding board. I mean, was your mom critical of what you were doing, or was it like, "Oh, this is great, honey," like, or would she be like, you could do this or that? How did she
She's always
respond?
been extremely supportive. So uh, I entered a lot of songwriting contests at school as well. So I got to get like feedback from a lot of different type of people. And
Mhm.
it was really special actually, because when I was at Malibu High School, I entered like they had songwriting contests every single year. And I won all of the years that I entered. And
Wow.
one of the years I got to go to Hans Zimmer's studio, which
No
was
way.
super cool. He's an incredible composer. So I
Oh,
got to go to the
yeah.
studio and, definitely like just having that feedback from my mom and other professionals in the industry. I was like, okay, like I'm on the right track. And that was a good feeling.
Yeah, I did see that you got signed really young too. You're probably still in high school at that.
Yeah, so actually my senior year at Malibu High, I went on independent study and I got my first job writing as a songwriter. So I got signed as a songwriter and was writing for different people. And that was like such an incredible experience to like work with other artists and other writers. And I loved that. And I decided after that part of my life that I wanted to pursue also being an artist. So basically, since then, from 17 to now, I've just been recording and performing and chasing my dreams. So it's been really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've spoke to other artists that when you get if you get signed on as a songwriter or if you get signed to a publishing deal, you kind of have to write for, you're writing
Sorry,
for other people. Oh,
sorry, my dog. Sorry.
oh, it's okay. I have a dog too. I don't care. No need to apologize.
Okay, sorry.
It's the beauty of
Oh,
this and the internet. It's all good. Doesn't matter.
oh, someone's trying to grab him. Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
Hopefully, we can clip it out.
Oh yeah, well we can edit it out. No worries.
Okay,
Or we
great.
can leave it in. Who gives a shit? um, I'm just kidding. But so I forgot what oh yeah, I was saying so you got signed on as a songwriter.
Yes.
And I've spoke to other artists that have had that opportunity where you get a publishing deal or you're signed on as a songwriter. So
Yeah.
they want you to write for other people. So when it comes, it's kind of a balancing act, right? Like, oh, did you write songs where like, I kind of want to keep that for me, or were you running into that at all?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, now looking back, I was like, I probably should have done that. But like when I first got my songwriting deal, they really wanted to pitch a lot of my favorite songs that I'd written to, Selena Gomez, Adele, And
Wow.
at the time, I was 17 and I was like, that sounds incredible, but I also like those songs were my babies,
Yeah,
And I
right. You have to kind of give them away, and if they could just put it on a hold, right, and you can't release it.
True. Yeah, exactly. So actually one of my first songs that I released, which was as an independent artist as Destiny Malibu, was called I Feel Alive.
Uh huh.
And that was a song that they actually were trying to pitch to Selena Gomez and stuff. And I ended up recording it myself. Thinking back, I'm like, well, that probably would have been a smart move for me. But at the same time, I'm
You
really
never know.
thankful that I have that record and that I got to perform a song that I love. So
Yeah, definitely. And you did what, American Idol as well, right? I saw
I
some
did,
videos of
yeah.
you. Yeah.
2018, the comeback season, I was on the show.
What was that like?
It was super cool. I mean, I got to meet Katy Perry and Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan, which was nuts because I have listened to Katy Perry like my whole life, and I just think she's like a pop queen. So it
Sure.
was nerve-wracking to sing for them. I
And you
have
did an
sung for a lot of
original.
people, but what was that?
You did an original song, which is another bold
I
move.
did, yes. So
Yeah.
I actually performed two songs. They aired my original song, which is cool, Peace.
Mhm.
I love that song. And then I played guitar and did like a Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande song acoustically. So it was really cool. It was cool to get their feedback and just
Yeah,
perform for people of that caliber. It was a fun experience.
for sure. Did you I mean, obviously you play guitar. Was that your first instrument, or along with singing, were you put on piano or anything like that at an early age?
I can play piano a little bit. I actually played piano. I had a piano teacher when I was really little, but she was not the nicest teacher.
They never are.
I
I'm starting a company where it's just
about
gonna
piano
be
teachers.
piano teachers that wanna teach you how to play pop songs, and it's gonna be the most lucrative thing I've ever
Yeah, right. And
done.
so naturally, because I didn't have the best experience with my teacher, I moved into another instrument. So I moved into guitar and I fell in love with guitar. I play piano a little bit, but definitely if I perform, I'm going to play guitar most of the time.
Mhm. How old are you when you started to learn guitar?
Uh, I was, I was about 9 actually, because when I wrote my first song, I was playing guitar and I was new to guitar and I wrote it with melody, singing, and guitar. So yeah, I was 9.
Wow. So you really took on the guitar as like a vehicle to really write songs, sounds like. It wasn't like, "Okay, I wanna learn how to play this Katy Perry song," or whatever it may be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So at a young age, my mom basically sat me down and said, look, like this is how a song is written. You have your verse, you have your chorus, you have your verse, sometimes you have a bridge and whatnot. And at that age, I just really like took that in. And as I was listening to the radio, I was listening to Maroon 5, Christina Aguilera, Kelly Clarkson, different people like that. And I was really just paying attention to song structure. And Maroon 5 was a huge influence for me because they're so incredible at hook writing. So I
Mhm.
remember being like a little girl and sitting in the car and hearing like This Love and those types of songs and being like, wow, like what an amazing feat to like write a song with a hook that good. So I like to think that I'm really good at writing hooks. So, whether it's on guitar or a cappella, I really love the writing process.
Amazing. And when you were on American Idol, like, prior to that, you had released your own music, correct? That wasn't,
Yes.
like, the first, like, debut of your original music?
No. So
No.
I have 3 albums out.
Mhm.
And at the time when I did American Idol, I think I had my first album out, or my EP that we turned into an album, which was Kissed by an Angel. And then we made an
Uh-huh.
extended version full album later.
Oh, cool, okay. Yeah, I was watching an interview with you, it was, like, on a television station in, like, Bakersfield or something. You were,
Yeah.
like, doing, like, a
I
high
know which one you're
school
talking about.
tour or something. Were you playing a bunch of high schools? I know that's a thing, like, the high school musical tours where, like, my brother-in-law's band has done that, where you play a bunch of different high schools, around LA or, California or whatever.
Yeah, that was a really fun time. I did a high school and college tour, and I definitely feel like that was a big part of growing my fan base. For a lot of
Mhm.
those students, I have a tour bus, and we would bring my tour bus and set up and do a concert. And for a lot of those students, like it was their first concert ever. So
Wow.
I feel, really honored that I got to like be a part of some of those kids' memories in that way. So yeah, that was a really fun time. I would actually love to do that again. I love the high school, college energy.
Yeah. He was saying it's like, I mean, to be there with the audience is already a massive amount of people, especially that are probably interested in, oh, like a band here, like how cool, or like this artist is gonna come play at our school at lunch or whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
already like a buzzing, cool thing to probably be a part of anyway.
Yes. And I mean, you definitely have to have thick skin in the sense that, kids are on it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they could be brutal, I bet.
Thankfully, I always had a really good experience all of the high schools I went to. But I remember when I first started to go on the tour, I was nervous because at my high school, I remember we had brought artists in, and I was on student council. I was on ASB. Some of the artists would come in and kids would like throw food and like just be so
Damn.
terrible. And so I was like, oh no, I'm gonna go on this high school tour. I hope nobody throws food at me. But nobody threw any food at me.
That's good. Unscathed, you left. That's good. Yeah, I've seen photos of your tour bus. I think it was on Instagram or something. It's rad. Like you've got you're on the side of it and everything. That's really cool.
Thank you so much.
So you have three albums out. You have another one coming out, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say, so like after you put that first record out, like what going into the next album, like what was kind of the next milestone that you achieved at that moment?
after my last
The first album, but right after American Idol, like now you have people's attention, right? And like, oh, okay, the song like Peace is on here, like this is awesome. And then you put out the next album. What was that like?
Oh, that was super cool. It was very fun experience because I had my Kiss by an Angel album, which is mostly what I had been touring with at the high schools and colleges and different venues. And then I came out with my album Sweet Persuasion, which I'm super proud of. I think my Sweet Persuasion album, I really, at that point, had really developed my sound. My Kiss by an Angel album, I'm super proud of, and it was more of like experimenting with where I felt like best and what type of music I felt best creating. And my Sweet Persuasion album is definitely a pop record, and it's super fun. And our goal was to make something fun and danceable and upbeat. And it's a blend of like EDM and pop and Latin and rap, and it's a really fun album. So I got a really good reaction from that. And even today, when I tour, those are some of my best songs that people really know. So
yeah, and the video screen behind you is one of the songs of the record, right? Vamos.
Yes, it is. This is my Vamos video. I'm not sure why it's got that up there, but
no, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I
was gonna say, I think that's on that album.
What was that?
I was gonna say, I believe that song is on that album.
Yes, it's on my Sweet Persuasion album.
That's killer. And that came out in 2020, I believe. Was that pre-pandemic, or was that in the midst of the pandemic?
Actually, so my Sweet Persuasion album, the pandemic hit me hard because I actually had an entire college tour lined up and all booked for the whole year. And I had this album dropping, and the goal was to release the album and then tour. And we released the album, and basically the pandemic happened, and all of the schools shut down. They weren't allowing people to come on campus. So that was hard because I was so excited for that 2020 tour. But I still got a really good response. And I think during that time, a lot of people were streaming a lot of music and looking for that outlet. And so of connection and, releasing music during that time, I think ended up being really good as well in a different way. And I was able to, continue touring after everything opened back up, and it's done well. But it was definitely hard during that whole time to release such a big project when everything was shut down.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I can't even imagine. And then so you have the three albums you have out. Is Kiss by an Angel is the most recent record, right? Or is that the first one? I guess
So Kiss by an Angel was my first, and then it was Sweet Persuasion,
and then Out of the Shadows.
Yes.
Okay, so Out of the Shadows, you go into that album, and was that also out in 2020 as well, or is that after?
Out of the Shadows came out in 2020. Yes.
So you had two albums that came out in the same year.
Yes.
That's a lot of writing.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, but to have that many songs, where you must have been fairly creative during the pandemic. A lot of people either were or weren't. Were
Yeah.
those songs that you had prior, or were you working on them, due to lockdown and all that stuff?
I was working on those 2 albums prior to lockdown, but definitely, like, during the shutdown, I wrote a lot of songs that I'm super proud of that are gonna be on my upcoming album, so that was still definitely a time of inspiration.
Okay. So the upcoming album, I don't think I saw a release date, but you've put out at least Mary Did You Know? That's the one that you have out thus far, correct? Is that on the album?
Yes, I did. I decided to do a Christmas single and cover, so that's a
Mhm.
Christmas song, and it's my first Christmas song. I'm a Christmas baby, so, I
Ah.
my favorite.
So that was just a Christmas standalone song, nothing to do with the album that's coming out.
Exactly. But we
Gotcha.
will be releasing a single from my upcoming album called Say My Name very soon. So we're going to announce the release date for that soon. And that is from the upcoming album.
Oh, awesome. Well, tell me about that song.
Yeah. So Say My Name is a really powerful song that I'm so excited to release because so I also have a mental health podcast called the Destiny Malibu Podcast.
Mhm.
And I'm very, very into mental health. And particularly when I went to the high schools and colleges, pretty much every time I went to a school, like the administration would come up to me and say, hey, we just want to let you know that like the kids are a little down because there's been a suicide. And I could not believe that at so many of these schools, it was like over and over and over. And I knew how mental health struggles had affected my life or some friends. Uh, but that really just spoke to my heart and was like, hey, I need to do something more in this area and talk about this more. So I have my mental health podcast where we just talk about, self-love and which I think is one of the most foundational aspects of quality mental health is really being your own best friend. And
Mhm.
I think especially at that age, people are still discovering, we're always discovering who we are, but I think especially in high school and college,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
really.
those are the years you're really trying to figure out who you are.
Exactly. So I'm very passionate about that. And this song, Say My Name, is really a song that is describing my own mental health journey and what I have gone through and overcome. And my goal with that song is to bring hope to people that no matter what dark place you're in, that the sun does come through and to just, keep holding on for those good moments and hope and always to hold on to hope. So it's a really cool song. I can say a little like uh comment about it that are a hint about what's to expect.
Okay.
And it's like half rap and half singing. And it's gonna be really cool. So I can't wait to release that.
Wow, that's really cool, and it's cool that you, are vulnerable about mental health and in your own aspect and having a podcast about it, but not only because you have that relationship with the younger demographic, especially been playing
Yeah.
high schools and colleges, and
Yeah.
yeah, growing up, I'm older, but I never, no one you never really heard much about suicide. I mean, you would, very rarely, but now I feel like it's so yeah, more and more kids, it's so sad.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful that a lot of the stigma is being removed around mental health issues. I think even just, you know, 10, 20 years ago, probably it's like people were more in this mindset of, oh, just smile and say everything's
Yeah.
fine and I'm fine, everybody's good. And that picture perfect like housewife, like, cleaning, always happy type of vibe. And I think now people, especially I think during the pandemic, I think that opened up a lot of that conversation because people were so isolated and were really struggling and still are, but that time in particular I think opened up more of a conversation about how to work through these issues. And I was a little nervous about being so vulnerable about, my experiences, but if my story can help even just one person and realize that they're not alone and that, even someone like me who some people would think, oh, you're probably so happy and your life's perfect. And it's not, I'm human. I have my bad days, I have my weaknesses. And it's, I think, really important to remind people that it's okay to be human and your emotions will fluctuate and that's okay. And I think being honest and vulnerable about that is one of the first steps of prevention if somebody is really struggling.
Mhm. And with your podcast, I mean, it's one thing to be vulnerable, I guess, in a song because people could interpret it a certain way, right?
Right.
But when you're doing a podcast about that subject, it's very, very black and white. Was
Yes.
that something I mean, going into that, like, is it just you on the pod? I'm just curious a little bit about the
Yeah.
podcast.
Mhm.
Is it you? Do you have guests? And was that kind of I mean, being that vulnerable and it's just you speaking about this topic very directly.
Yes.
Was that hard? Was that something you were kind of like, should I do this? Like, were you kind of on the fence at all, or no? You just knew that you wanted to get on board and
I
behind it.
was a little bit because, there's something to be said, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this. A lot of people don't share their struggles out of fear of being judged.
Hmm.
And I've heard a lot of people and students and people say that to me. Oh, I don't want to tell my friends or my family because I don't want people to look at me different.
Sure.
And I think what's important to remember is so many people, so many of us are going through the same struggles. And I think sometimes we're afraid of being judged, but when we open up, we actually learn that so many people are going through the same thing.
Hmm.
And when you realize that so many people are going through the same thing, there's a lot of comfort in knowing that you're not alone in those emotions and that it's not just, you who's feeling this way, but other people. And then being able to talk to other people and support each other through those emotions. But I was initially a little nervous because I'm like, oh no, like, are people going to think I'm crazy and I'm totally unhinged off the rails, but it's not something at the end of the day that I'm really worried about because I think just being honest and truthful about who you are and what you go through is what really is going to connect with people most authentically anyway. So it was it was interesting sharing some of my struggles, but we've gotten so much feedback where people are like, thank you so much for sharing that. I've gone through the same thing and knowing that knowing that I'm in a place now, like I really am in a good place. I'm not perfect. I have my bad days, but overall, I feel like I am in a place in my life where I can encourage others and my listeners and people who follow me that, you know, it gets better. So that's my main message is, not to give up and to hold on to that hope.
Incredible. Yeah. And with this new album coming out, is that I mean, it sounded like the song that you have coming out is about that subject matter. Is that
Yeah.
kind of a theme throughout the album, or is that just kind of the one song, or what can we expect
So
from the album when it's all
yeah,
said and
the
done?
album is going to be a blend of a lot of really cool pop tunes, and even this song "Say My Name" is a pop song. I'd say it's like a pop R&B song, so you can kind of expect that vibe from the whole album. And it's interestingly, it's kind of upbeat, but also intimate. So I'm excited for people to resonate with it and see what people think.
I love it. I can't wait to hear the song and the album when it comes out. And I appreciate your time today, Destiny. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Are you in music as well?
I no. I mean,
No. Okay.
I can play guitar okay and keys a little bit, but I came from radio. I was on the radio for almost 20 years. So that was where I
Wow,
started. So yeah, I was in San
that's amazing.
Diego on the radio and San Francisco, and now I live in Nashville. But yeah, that I love talking to musicians and appreciating music. I wish I could write songs and be a rock star, but that wasn't in the cards for me.
Oh, well, you play guitar, so you're already
Yeah,
there.
I guess I do. I could play 4 power chords and that's no, and
That's
some
all you
other
need. You can play
yeah.
like 200 songs with 4 chords.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have one more question for you, Destiny, before I let you go. I wanna know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes, of course. My advice for aspiring artists would be to do your best to kind of shut out the noise and create the type of music that you want to create, that you resonate with most. I think a lot of artists, when they're trying to develop their sound and figure out what direction they want to go, I know I had a lot of people telling me, oh, you got to be in one lane, only do one genre, only do this. And I think that artists shine the most when they are just being true to themselves and sitting down and coming from that authentic place of whatever their heart is saying. And I think sometimes in the music business, some of that can get lost and manufactured and, all about the money. And just to remember to stay true to your art and true to what your heart wants to share with the world.
Bringing it backwards.